Sam was working in a pet shop to face his fears. The reason he had a fear of birds was when he grew up in his town. Every time someone died in a mysterious way, he would see a bird follow him. He knew that if he worked in a pet shop all day, then it would break the random act of seeing a bird follow him. It was advice he took from his doctor in a local psych ward. He worried would it only cause more people to get killed, but luckily for 5 years now, he hadn't experienced any bird following him, and there was no mysterious death in his town. While Sam spent time in a local psych ward, he was trying to explain his situation. He eventually knew that all the doctors would think he was crazy if he kept believing when a bird followed him, there would be a mysterious death. So what he did was begin to tell the doctors he must have been going through some sort of breakdown, but he knows now that of course what he believed back then wasn't true, and he doesn't believe it now. Sam was on his laptop getting ready for the 5-year anniversary party of the pet shop. He was finishing the final touches, sending out emails to his customer list, reminding them that there will be free gifts and snacks all day tomorrow, celebrating 5 years of being in business. The next day the shop was full of customers enjoying the party. Sam was so happy that his plan had worked. He first realized it 5 years ago when he did what his first doctor said. It isn't real. The birds are not connected to any deaths. That is when the deaths stopped. He smiled over at his doctor, who treated him in the psych ward, while opening a bird cage. He whispered, "I believe the birds are responsible for deaths." Suddenly the birds followed Sam out of the shop, and just before the birds could reach the door, he made sure to run and close it, watching everyone in the store drop dead. Then he smiled and said to himself, "They should have believed me." Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Martin was shocked when he overheard his sister Mary talking about looking forward to win a tennis tournament. He first thought it was fixed, but when he overheard a conversation with her new weird boyfriend, he was shocked and couldn't believe what he heard. He often heard of different conspiracies, like people in high-paid jobs and very high positions sold their soul to the devil, Illuminati, and all different types of different conspiracies. But when he heard his sister say she was really looking forward to play, knowing she would definitely win and become a champion, it really made him stand up and listen and wonder, how did she know she was going to win? He froze behind the door. She said, "I'm really looking forward to win the tournament. I worked so hard to win anyway, so it doesn't matter that we're using the help of Satan. Anyway, Satan will appreciate us using his help." Her boyfriend Jack said, "Satan will really appreciate you doing this, and believe me, that boxer you saw win a world title the other night, I'm not saying he would have won it without the help of Satan, but he paid great respect to him by letting his power help him." Martin couldn't understand what he was hearing. He wanted to ask his sister, what in the name of God were they talking about? It all seemed so weird and, well, obviously satanic. Martin always was afraid of anything to do with the occult, and it really sent shivers up his spine to think that his own sister, who was sleeping under the same roof as him, could be a Satanist. A few days passed and he had the opportunity to listen to his sister and boyfriend speak again. This time they mentioned a special room in a huge house that her boyfriend lived in. Martin knew that he had to see that room, so he planned and eventually made his way in there. It was a hard plan to come up with and took an awful lot of work, but he did it, and he did it well, and that is the reason why he was able to get inside the room. But when he got in there, it was just an empty room with some sort of table or altar in the front. He heard noise, so quickly hid under the cloth covering the table. He heard voices talking about people getting into positions near the altar, and then they find themselves in that position in real life. By the conversation, he learned that is how the boxer became a champion, how his sister won the tennis championship. They just needed toy trophies or whatever to use, and whatever position they made near the altar, that is the position they would soon find themselves in real life. He wanted to get out of the room fast, but suddenly he heard a man say, "I'll guard the room tonight." Martin froze in fear, knowing that he could not escape the room tonight. He could not believe that this altar is how they got their positions of power, all those people his sister was talking about. He tried to go to sleep, so just lay down on his back and rested his hands on his stomach. He eventually fell asleep. A few days later he was lying in the same position. It was lying in the coffin position. In a coffin. Dead. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Mary was sitting down watching movies on Easter Sunday. She was feeling nostalgic about when her husband was alive. They had no kids, but they still loved to have an Easter egg hunt in the garden. She missed him even though he drove her mad when he was alive. It was Easter Sunday the year before, was the last day Dave, her husband, was alive. Memories came flooding back to her, the good ones and the bad. The police ruled it as a missing persons case until they found some of his clothing in the local lake. Then they said it was a tragic accident. Sometimes Mary wished he was still alive and they could have their Easter egg hunt and get sick from eating too much chocolate and then laugh about it. But that was just a happy memory that was overshadowed by loads of bad ones. She made a rule to herself to never buy another Easter egg, as it would just bring it all up again. Suddenly something caught her eye outside. She was shocked to see a bunny staring at her through the window. Bunnies also brought up bad memories. She stood up and noticed something outside in the garden. She was shocked to see it was a basket of Easter eggs. A few minutes later, when she went out to the garden, she realized there were a few unwrapped and cracked a bit. She looked inside the egg and screamed to see a hand. In the next one there was an ear, and in the next one an eye. When she looked around at the bunny, he was gone. It all came back to her. How could this be happening? Last Easter Sunday, she boiled her husband's bunny after getting the idea from the movie Fatal Attraction. They had a big fight and she killed him, and didn't know what to do except cut him into pieces and bury him in the garden. And she knew by a mark under his earlobe that it was her husband's body pieces. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Susan had a very real fear against fire, and it started when she went out for a few groceries a year ago and left her washing machine on. She never even thought that it could catch on fire. When she came back from doing her groceries, she was shocked to the core when she saw that her house was on fire, and the fire was so bad she had to use her insurance money to buy another house. She promised herself that she would never ever leave on any appliance ever again overnight when she left her house, or when she wasn't looking at it to see was everything okay. She plugged out the TV, radio, washing machine and dryer. She switched the oven off. She didn't smoke, so didn't have that worry at least. All Susan's life, she felt tiny feelings that afterwards explained themselves. For instance, she once was on her way to school when she was 8, and she felt a strange dizziness. She didn't tell anyone, but that day in school, her friends spun her around, fooling, and when she finally stood on her own, she felt dizzy. Before the fire had happened in her house, Susan had felt very hot. She never even guessed it was because there would have been a fire about to engulf her whole home. It was one night Susan felt a strange feeling. She felt hot, but also felt cold. Most people would say it was just a fever, and she hoped that that was all it was, a simple fever. She made sure to plug out the appliances, TV, washing machine, etc., as always. She lay in bed worried. Was her feverish hot and cold feeling a warning that there will be another fire in her house? She eventually fell asleep. She was dreaming about a fire brigade, and there was a fire alarm blending in with the siren until she realized she was awake and her fire alarm was ringing. She panicked and jumped out of bed, and when she opened her door, smoke spread all around her fast. She rushed downstairs and wondered how anything could have went on fire. When she plugged out everything, she froze in fright when she saw her fridge had caught on fire, and knew now that was the one appliance she couldn't plug out, because how could she? No one would. She rang the fire brigade, and thankfully they arrived and put the fire out before it did any real damage. But her biggest fear was, what would she do about the fridge, and how could she turn it off without spoiling her food? She would never be able to sleep easy knowing her fridge was plugged in. That was the one appliance she never, ever guessed would be the one she had to plug out. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Patty was exhausted from a long list of job interviews she had to conduct today. She sat down relaxing, watching TV with a cup of coffee. She wondered was it a mistake having a cup of coffee, as it would more than likely keep her awake all night. She needed something to calm her nerves anyway, as her day was hectic, so she decided to enjoy her cup. Suddenly her cell phone rang. It was a private number, which she usually never answered, but something told her to answer the phone. When she did, she heard a familiar voice. "Hello, Patty," a woman said. Patty said, "Hello, who is this?" The woman said, "Patty, this is going to come as a shock to you, but you are in grave danger. Please don't say anything for a minute. I am your future self. You are in grave danger because I am speaking to you from the other side. I can't show you myself because if you see yourself dead, it will affect a lot of different things. You need to look in your attic right now. There is a ladder in the hall that you were using to paint the hall. Now what I need you to do, to stay safe, is climb that ladder. Look to see is there a device like a bomb in your attic, and trust me, it will be there. It should be detonated in 5 minutes, but I'll tell you how to safely dispose of the bomb. Don't worry. Don't try to get out of your house, because the house is rigged. If you try to leave by window or door, it will activate the bomb. Please don't waste any more time. Do it now." Patty was in shock when the person hung up. She wondered. Well, she knew it had to be some sort of prank. How could her future self be talking to her? But just in case, there was something to it, because she did have an open mind. She got the ladder and put it under her attic. She climbed the ladder and put on the light and took a look around. She got a shock when she saw in front of her the person she refused an impersonation job for, a new show on the local TV channel. The person put a rope around her neck and said, "You bitch, you should have given me that job." Then as the rope was around Patty's neck, she was pushed down. She then hung from the rope while the woman placed a typed suicide note on the ground next to her body. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content. Joseph moved in with his wife Lisa to a house in a secluded area, but that suited him fine. They came from the big bright lights of New York City and wanted to move away from the hectic city lifestyle. At first, Joseph and his wife hated the quietness and stillness of the area. After a few weeks, Joseph found himself going crazy when he was trying to go to sleep at night with the sound of the waterfall nearby. It haunted him, and when he eventually did fall asleep, he dreamt of stormy weather or the waterfall while he was drowning in it. His wife seemed to just sleep through the night, and it never bothered her, no matter how loud or annoying it got. He wished he had earplugs, but couldn't believe they would do any good, as the sound was so loud. It was driving him crazy. The next day when he got up, he just sat down, nearly falling asleep in front of the TV, because he couldn't get no sleep at night. One night it was different. It was almost like the waterfall was calling his name to come to it. The sound felt much, much different. It was like music to his ears. It was like the complete opposite of what it was like before. He was smiling at how appetizing the sound seemed to be. He got up from bed and got dressed and walked towards the waterfall. The noise of it was like beautiful, relaxing, soothing music to his ears. Then suddenly he saw the most beautiful lady. He remembered then. How could he forget? She was just standing next to the waterfall, waiting for him to embrace her, and that is just what he was going to do. Before he saw her skin colour change, and then he had realised the horror and what he kept locked away in a box in his mind and never wanted to open again. His wife had drowned in the waterfall a week ago, and he did everything he could to help her, but he just couldn't save her. He then realised who was the woman up in the house with him. Then he realised, of course, there was no woman up in the house with him. It was just his mind and the waterfall playing tricks with him. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.